Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom, peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom to all the men and women who are rehearsing the righteous acts day in and day out. Shalom to you. Before we get started, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are preaching and teaching this truth with humility and sincerity across the four winds of the world to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America and the Israelite stranger that has been scattered across the four winds that speak the language of those other nations and look like those from those other nations, but their lineage also goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as well. Okay, so as you can see off the rip, the map I have here, this don't have quite the name yet. Don't have the name of what I might be naming this lesson, but it is concerning the canal that Mexico is currently in the works of. Okay, so the Spirit led me to do this video today. As you saw earlier, that video I posted before this lesson of some influencer on TikTok talking about how Mexico is, been having something up his sleeve, a trick up his sleeve, and it all stems from the uncertainty of any type of trade deals with spiritual Babylon. Okay, as we all know by now, at least the whole world should know who spiritual Babylon is. In case you didn't know, it is America. Spiritual Babylon is America, and it's also spiritual Sodom and spiritual Egypt. Okay, the house of bondage. Okay, in the book of Revelations, and these modern times, it is spiritual Babylon. And spiritual Babylon, as you can see, is taking L's every day. More and more is taking nothing but losses. Okay, the curses are being transferred onto her, the wicked ruling power of Esau, Edom. Okay, right before that, they had a situation with Venezuela, and even before that, they were having conflicts with the Panama Canal. Okay, and the Spirit led me to do this video today because the Panama Canal, being so-called Central America, is biblical. How in modern times, in particular, the tribe of Zebulon will be dwelling at the haven of ships. And we'll get that here in Scripture to furthermore prove even more prophecy of who the modern day Israelites are and where they will be currently residing here in the future, which is modern day today. Okay, the tribe of Zebulon being from the nation of Guatemala all the way to Panama, which consists of 6 countries there. I think now being 7, with Belize being a branch off of Honduras, which was owned by Honduras, but they sold it to the British, being now called ruled by British Columbia, Belize. Okay, but we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, that the tribe of Zebulon will be residing in the haven of ships. And this we know to be prophecy, and how the haven of ships, the area of Zebulon, has always been an area of conflict, a very a location in which a lot of people wanted to conquer right away because of the value and the location it had. Okay, and let's go back here to where I had it on my Google Earth imagery here. As you can see, I've got the red mark right there of Panama Canal. And as you can see, from Guatemala to Panama, that would be also obviously called Central America, right? as you can see there, and we know his spiritual name is Zebulon, and we'll find that here in a second. And the Panama Canal was such a vital land, vital area to conquer, because you could travel from the Atlantic side through that canal into the Pacific side, right, and get to the other side of the continent. So this is why it was such a crucial thing to conquer the Panama Canal back in the conquistador days. All right, they were going through a lot of things, because this is how they could not only get to the other side of South America and North America, on the West Coast side, on the Pacific side, just by going through that canal without having to, imagine if that canal wasn't there, they'd have to travel on foot, which will make the process a lot longer. Or if they went in ships, they have to go around this whole continent to get to the, Pacific side, right? Same with North America, to get to California and so forth. You couldn't even do that. You'd have to somehow go through land. But with the Panama Canal, it's such a great resource. If you have ships, you could just go right through there and end up on the other edge. And I could zoom it in a little bit. I don't like how this Google Earth doesn't really show the water as blue, but as you can see, that is a ship right there. So the water is almost like a light green. So it's kind of hard to see it, but it goes all the way from one end of the canal, as you can see me right here, all the way, boom, right there, ending on the Pacific side right there. And you could enter it through right here, as you can see the imagery again, through the here we go. And this is all water there, by the way, as you can see. And it ends up being right here. You see this bay right there, boom, right there, the entrance of the Atlantic side right there, where it says Cologne right there. All that dark blue, that's the bay right there. That's water, right? And you see how right here, you go right through here, and you go through this little slim line where ships go through there, go through all their inspections and stuff. As you can see, some boats there. So anyways, this is why the U.S. wanted to completely take over that canal, because all these trade wars and stuff that's going on, they want absolute control, right? Because it's Esau, Edom. And a lot of these nations have become more hip to the fact of who Esau is. The wicked ruling power of Esau, Edom, is the son of perdition. And, the nations have had enough, man. And that's why they're cornering the whore that it speaks of in the book of Revelation, meaning AKA America. Okay, the scarlet harlot, the scarlet whore that rides, on the seven-headed beast, which is NATO, and doing his abominations, how it's always done throughout history, of raping, robbing, and murdering people. Okay, and just like this canal right here, they try to take over and had their sanctioning military forces there, pretty much controlling and hijacking it. Now Mexico got hip to the fact and started creating their own artificial canal. Okay, they don't have a water river or that goes from one end to the other, but they do have a port, a pretty good port that goes pretty deep inside their landmass. And this is how they're able to do trades and deals with the Pacific side of the ocean, with China and some of these other Asian countries, as well as Canada and some of the Latin American countries that could travel, where it makes it more easier for them to travel through the Pacific side. Okay. And as you saw that video of that lady speaking, how, they call it the port of Manzanilla, I think it was. And we'll go there real quick. And they've been in the works with that port, right? So that port is water, but the way it connects to the other side of the Atlantic is through railroad lines. Okay, they have about three of them. Three of them, as I remember, one of them is going to be used for commerce, for goods, to transport those goods from that port to the other side of Mexico on the Atlantic side. Okay, and also, I'm sure some people remember where there was a lot of agricultural deals that America didn't want to pay to Mexico, forcing them to go even cheaper because they're their number one clients. And Mexico wasn't having it. They're like, nah, screw you. We've been, dealing with you for so many years, giving you a really good deal because you are a major customer and constantly are right next to each other. So, you need us like we need you type deal. But, Mexico being very diplomatic, very smart when dealing with their trading with, spiritual Babylon. And Babylon is always trying to use and abuse any type of deals it has with its neighbors, right? To the point where it has closed its own doors and has broken any bridge of doing business with other nations, right? And again, nations have begun to become wise to the fact how crooked Esau Edom is. All right, you're having the issue over there in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran, completely shutting his straits, trying to keep the Babylonians out of there, and the small hats, and continuing to do business with other superpower nations, being China and Russia, right? Of course. So, let's get started here. Sorry for the long intro, but it just reminds me of a lot of scripture. Zebulon being the haven of ships in modern times, and how that was a problem, when Christopher Colon came and tried to conquer all that, how they wanted to grab that spot as well. And that's how they were able to get to the other side of the Americas, the Pacific side, and furthermore exploit and suck the resources out of that side of the Americas as well. Okay, and grab all the riches of silver and gold from the Atlantic side of the Americas. Okay, let's get started here. Let's go here to Genesis 49:13. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea. Okay, and like I just got done showing you, that it's a huge haven, right? Let's go into that word haven real quick. Haven means place of safety, a sheltered harbor, right? And it's a place where, we know this is talking about future prophecy, because Zebulun, if you look at the map of the 12 tribes of Yasharallah, Zebulun was a landlocked. So we know it's talking about future prophecy, and we'll grab that here in a second. It was talking about where Zebulun will reside in the future, which is current day today, by the haven of the sea. Okay, let's continue. And he shall be for a haven of ships. Okay, all types of trading, of commerce going on throughout the land of Zebulun there, right? Since the beginning of the colonization, there's been nothing but a haven of ships there. And his border shall be unto Zidon. Okay, we're going to grab that old map. I had it pulled up earlier. Give me 1 second here. Let's go to the pretty old map here. Let me see if I could get this one. Let's see if this one's not too blurry. It's kind of blurry. You can't really see the... this one's a little brighter here. Okay, as you can see here, this is the ancient 12 tribes of Yasharallah map, and all the ones that you see colored are from the 12 tribes, right? You see Judah right there, Simeon, Reuben, Gad, And as you can see right here in the purple, Zebulon right there, right between Asher and Issachar, right? And to the left is the sea, right? The Great Sea. And so, it's talking about prophecy when it was speaking of haven of ships, because it wasn't talking about back then when, the Israelites got allotted their land. Okay, the Israelites got allotted their portion of their land. There it is, Zebulon, and it's completely landlocked. So this is how we know through prophecy and the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, who the tribe of Zebulon, and where they will be residing in future times. Okay, completely landlocked from any ships getting there, completely being landlocked, right? So this is how we know. This is talk about the tribe of Zebulon, which in the past they have called them the Mayans, and you've got right next to Zebulon, Issachar, which is the tribe of, Issachar, which is the so-called Mexicans, and also so-called Aztecs back in the days before they were colonized by the Spaniard Edomites. Okay, and there you have it. This is the haven of the sea right here. Okay, this was a crucial point, the Panama Canal, to try to conquer that and, be able to grab all the resources and commute from one end to the other very quickly. And as you saw that video, now Mexico is trying to create their own sort of artificial canal, right? Starting with the port of Manzanilla, Salakia for the mispronunciation. But that is not a complete all the way water travel. The rest of it is connected with those railroad lines that are able to cross to the Atlantic side. Okay. And let's continue reading here. And he shall be for a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon, right? And that, if you go look at the old map, Zidon and Tyre were residing there, which are the Canaanites. The Canaanites were residing in Yasharallah before the Israelites were promised that land by the Heavenly Father, okay? And if you look at that map there, sometimes they'll have it. There you go, right there. You could actually see right there. It says Tyre and Zidon. Sometimes I'll have a little dot where it shows Zidon and Tyre, and the Canaanites ruled that land, okay, which go back to Ham, okay, but the Lord cleared them out of that land for the Israelites, the chosen nation, to have that land and was promised unto them. Okay, that's another topic for another day, but that is future prophecy of where the tribe of Zebulon will be residing in today's time, right? And as you saw that video of that lady speaking on the port of Manzanilla and how it connects with the railroad lines to reach across to the other side. So making it almost a whole 7-day week faster. Okay. And if you could remember a couple months back, how when all those trade deals were going on and people were going back and forth, getting pissed off because this dude wanted to raise the taxes, on the people importing over here to make it more expensive for the citizens of America. And it was a whole ordeal, and it was a deal with the agriculture with Mexico. And by the way, that's not the only thing that Mexico imports to America. They want to spin it that way, but there's other things that they import, like actual oil as well, that they don't push that on the media too much because, they always try to minimize the value of Mexico and other nations. Okay. So you had that issue going on, and now um, them being one of their primary customers, saying, "Oh, we don't need to take your agricultural or your goods or your imports. We could get it from other countries." Obviously, if you get it from another further land, you're gonna have to wait longer and probably pay more, right? And then tax more over here. So it's gonna affect the economy. It's gonna affect the people here in spiritual Babylon. And I remember pretty good that Canada was like, well, shit, we'll take it. We'll take any deals that Mexico has to offer. We could still make deals. We don't need this Edomites over here, stepping in our way of any type of deals we got going on. And this is why that port is so crucial when it comes with dealing with Canada, which is right above spiritual Babylon, dealing with Mexico, and they could actually receive, unlike times in the past, their goods a lot faster. Again, this is like almost a whole week, and that's a lot of money, a lot of time. And if you know, in the business world, time is money as well. Okay, time is very valuable. Okay, to get all those resources over there, through ships, right, through the port. I'm sure they probably got ships, probably could even pull up on the port on Manzanilla over there, right, and grab their goods and take back off instead of going all the way to Panama to deal with anything over there. Now they don't have to. All they have to do is just go to Mexico right there, Mexico's backyard, boom, bypass spiritual Babylon. And as you heard, if you do some research yourself, China has been going over there already, making a lot of deals. China, actually, that's where they go to their port when dealing with Mexico right there. They pull up on that port of Manzanilla. Okay, so this is very crucial. This is very damaging to the economy of Babylon the Great, because people are still doing trades and deals amongst themselves, excluding Babylon, okay, pushing them out, furthermore closing the doors on themselves. And at the end of the day, spiritual Babylon did this to themselves, right? The DJ trying to play hardball, but now people know how they are, and that they are the wicked ruling class of Esau, Edom, and what type of people and how they do business. And they're just, completely excluding them out of everything. Just like the Strait of Hormuz, just like the whole BRICS, nations got together to the term that they like to call de-dollarization, to de-dollarize the wicked ruling power of Esau, Edom, spiritual Babylon, aka America. Okay, so more and more the walls are closing in on spiritual Babylon over here. And at the end of the days, the people that are going to suffer, the people are going to feel the oppression, the affliction of all the reckless choices of their wicked ruling empire. Okay, let's go over here. This other scripture I wanted to bring out. This is who they know they are. Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and that their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names, and that is no one other than Esau, Edom, that has been the vagabond of the world, and that has gone across the four corners of the world, colonizing, raping, robbing, and stealing. Still to this day, they're still trying to do that, and you will see more reckless acts as they continue to descend furthermore into the pit of misery. Okay, that their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, right? Very high and minded, very, very haughty spirit, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names, right? All these lands had their own name before the colonizers came and named it after themselves and proclaimed themselves to be the one from that nation, right? Excluding the real people that were here before them. Okay, let's continue here. Let's go over here to Jeremiah 49:10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. Okay, it doesn't matter what this man does or say. You know, he's been exposed, and people have gotten again hip to the fact that this is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And nobody wants to do any type of business with this man. Okay, they are already, tired of his shit pretty much, So people are already taking it upon themselves to wheel and deal, do trade deals, make up the BRICS nation to completely de-dollarize the Babylonian Empire over here, right? Because back then there were two different nations with their own currency using the American dollar, and they were like, man, we're here, we have our own currency, and here we are giving more power to the wicked ruling power of Esau Edom when we could do our own deals without this guy meddling in the middle, right? Trying to be the middleman of everything. Okay, so this is what's going on. And again, let's continue here. Shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is nothing. Okay, he is spoiled, man. And just like anything, spoiled, it starts looking like crap, smelling like crap, until it just completely rots away, man. Okay, nobody wants to do any type of dealings with Esau, man. People are just getting fed up, and there got a lot of moves going on behind the scenes, behind Esau, not involving him. Okay, now you have the port of Manzanilla going on as well, and I think they were predicting it to be finished by 2030. It might be a little too late, Lord willing. Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai brings judgment here on Babylon the Great and the rest of these heathen nations. Okay, let's look at the Manzanilla. Let's get a look. There you go. Salakia, Manzanillo port. That's what it's called. Mexico expands Manzanillo port amid Trump's trade wars. You see that? With all that trade wars was going on, are like, okay, well, we got something. We ain't doing business with this dude. We're gonna completely exclude him. We're gonna still be able to deal with Canada at least, and that's a pretty big nation, and we could still be successful dealing with them. This is a perfect canal for them to wheel and deal still with the rest of the nations, including the superpower of China on the Pacific side, right? And this is how vital that port is, right? And that port, as we just got done reading, doesn't go through the water across the other side, but they have railroad lines that are made specifically for products and commerce. Okay, so as soon as they get to that port, they go to that railroad and they send it, if they need to the other side of Mexico, very fast, very easy. You know what I mean? So all those nations in South America, they could, wheel and deal still with Mexico on the Atlantic or the Pacific side. It doesn't matter. And all the countries on the Pacific, like China, could still just directly go, to the port right there of Manzanillo port, right? And they got a little bit of information on this, and you can find that yourself later. You can look it up there. Mexico expands its largest port as it bets on global trade despite Trump's tariff. Okay. It is already Mexico's largest port and the third largest in Latin America, handling nearly 4 million 20-foot containers in 2024. Okay, so it's been dealing with all of that. You know what I'm saying? Still getting it in, willing and dealing, doing business with the other nations, excluding the U.S., right? And let me grab that railroad, which is called because they've got 3 different types of line that go from one end to the other end, right close to each other. But this one is the Tren Interoceánico in Spanish. Tren Interoceánico. Okay, that's the name of this railroad there, this railroad train. Right? It is a government-owned railway system in Mexico that has 3 lines. It seeks to become a global logistics network focused on the manufacture and movement of goods between the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean through the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. Okay, and there you have it, right? I'm sure it'll be taking whole containers as well from one end to the other end. Okay, this is big for Mexico, and it's big time going against the U.S., which it could, use some diplomacy and still do deals with the neighboring Mexico, but it's not going to do that because it's very prideful. And again, it said it was going to, raise the taxes, right, on these imports over here in America. Okay. So there you have it. You get some more information on here. This is the track. It goes from one end to the other, making their own pretty much land canal, right? Which ends up at that port of Manzanillo. Okay, and Zebulon being that canal back in the days, and now having Mexico forced to do these type of moves because of its uncertainties of dealing trades with spiritual Babylon over here. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and end it with that. I just want to do a quick little video on that, how the walls are closing in on Esau, Edom. You have all these nations willing and dealing, still keeping their economy rolling, still doing business, and coming up with new clever ways to continue to prosper and to continue to keep their nations afloat, and excluding Esau, Edom, right? Spiritual Babylon here, aka America. Now you've got the Strait of Hormuz. You got all them nations over there pulling up their military ships, containers, and so forth. And Esau, Edom still over there trying to bully and trying to, self-will himself in the middle of all of that. Okay, so we are close. We're very close to one mistake, one accidental fire off or whatever it may be, to go on all out woe number 3. Okay? And then you have the infrastructure of the BRICS nation that has been going on for quite some time now, willing and dealing amongst themselves, trading goods and services, and making their own alliance amongst the BRICS. And furthermore, causing the effect of de-dollarization of the dollar. Okay? All of this is going on at the same time, closing the walls in on Esau, Edom, and his wicked ruling empire. And if we know anything about this dude, the more desperate he gets, expect to see more vile actions of Esau, Edom, more hardcore, vigorous moves on his part out of desperation to try to take his kingdom back and try to be the ruling bully that he's always been. Okay? So, again, I'm going to go ahead and end it with that. Before I go, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are preaching and teaching this truth. Salakia, who are teaching this truth with humility and sincerity across the four winds of the world, to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America, and the speckled bird. They're amongst those other nations and look like those from those other nations. But their lineage goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as well. Shalom, shalom.